I would never understand people that take out loans to go on holiday. There's something I want to talk about, and that is going on holiday when you're broke. In order for me to have fun and enjoy holiday, I have to have peace of mind.
I knew this was coming, but I was just kind of waiting for it to happen. I got my first comment today about how I am planning on traveling, or I'm traveling, but I also am in debt. I have just under $31,000 in debt between credit card, taxes, car, student loan. And I'm just going to make one thing very clear. I'm going to live my life.
I have a question for the people that go into debt for a vacation. Now, I'm not judging anyone. I 1000% have gone into debt for vacation, which sounds crazy, I know, but I'm in front of you guys because I've made poor financial decisions in my life. Not anymore. Haven't made any bad decisions in the last 5 years financially, but I have made poor decisions. And go.
Let's be real for a second. How far would you go just to feel happy for a few days? I am talking about flights, hotel, and outfits, or just for 1 week. And when it's over, the bills are still there, because right now people are going into serious debt just to live a moment. Before I even talk too much, let's go watch some of these clip people reacted on, because what you're about to say is going to make you question a lot. Let's go watch this clip and we'll come back for our full analysis.
I knew this was coming, but I was just kind of waiting for it to happen. I got my first comment today about how I am planning on traveling, or I'm traveling, but I also am in debt. I have just under $31,000 in debt between credit card, taxes, car, student loan. And I'm just going to make one thing very clear. I'm going to live my life. I am going to take however much amount of money, whether it's $2,000 that I'm saving up, and put it towards travel versus putting it towards my debt. I'm going to do that. I'm 29 years old. I have no kids, no responsibilities aside from my bills, which I pay every month. I'm going to take my money and I'm going to go on vacation. Okay? If you're somebody who has debt and you choose to not focus at all on any of your wants in life, then you got to do you. I'm going to take my hard-earned money and I'm going to put some of it towards travel, but I'm budgeting for it. I'm not going into further debt to travel, which a lot of people are probably doing and just not telling you and not being open about it. So all I'm going to say is, yes, I have $31,000 in debt and I'm going to go on my vacation with that debt at home. Okay?
Hey guys, I don't know who needs to hear this, but it's not normal to spend all summer in Europe. And genuinely, I was starting to be like, damn, like, I'm not traveling enough, but I'm, like, trying to save money. Like, I'm in my 20s. Like, I'm not supposed to be balling the fuck out. Like, I'm supposed to be barely getting by and saving and trying to max out my Roth IRA. Like, genuinely, I feel like people have this perception that everyone should be traveling and going crazy in their 20s. And I don't know about you, but the last vacations I've been on have been with my parents because they pay for everything. But even then, they started treating us like adults and having us pay for dinners. Like, what? Anyway, so I'm very excited for my honeymoon. It's in December because I don't want to go anywhere tropical when it's, like, hot out, like in Illinois. So we're waiting a little bit. But yeah, don't worry if you're not traveling. Like, that shit, that's for older people, okay? Like, just try to make the most around you, especially, like, walking paths. Those are free. I don't know. Yeah, bye.
I just went on a vacation, which is so controversial when you're paying off debt. But you know what? There is a thing called balance. There's a thing called balance. And I truthfully believe that you should be able to live your life still and pay off your debt. Because for me, okay, I went to Vegas and I went to go see Millennium. Best concert of my life. Oh my God. Insane. If you're able to go to the Sphere and go see a DJ at the Sphere, insane, you guys. Literally insane. Anyway, besides the point. But I truthfully believe that you should be able to go and enjoy your life. Why? Why be upset? Why be sad? Why be depressed and paying off debt? No. You should be able to live your life and have fun, but it is about a balance, and you definitely have to save money for it, and you have to be responsible about it. Don't be putting vacations on credit cards. I mean, I did for the points, but paid it off. Truthfully, I'm going to still enjoy my life, but you got to be responsible about it, you know?
What baffles me is when people take like their FESFA loan, like refund money, which is still a loan, and they like post and are like, oh, can't wait to go on vacation, can't wait for this to fund my spring break. And it's like, you guys realize that that's like money you have to pay back, right? Like, I already maxed out my FAFSA and also pulled out a credit loan, which was only 4%, so low-key a little bit better than FAFSA for grad school. But I already maxed out all of that just to actually pay for school. Like, why are you taking out loans for fun? Like, why are you just taking them out and going on vacation with them? They're not for vacation, they're for necessities, okay?
I have a question for the people that go into debt for a vacation. Now, I'm not judging anyone. I 1000% have gone into debt for vacation, which sounds crazy, I know, but I'm in front of you guys because I've made poor financial decisions in my life. Not anymore. Haven't made any bad decisions in the last 5 years financially, but I have made poor decisions. And going into debt for a vacation was definitely one of those bad decisions. I will say this was like college age, you know, like I have not done it in forever. Anyway, I want to know how you guys feel about it, like how you feel on vacation. Because when I went into debt for vacation in college, I could not enjoy my vacation. It was so hard for me to enjoy my vacation because it's not like you're buying the flights or X, Y, and Z with debt. You're like paying for everything on the vacation in debt. It's like your vacation is supposed to be fun and relaxing, but it's not fun and relaxing because you're stressed about all the money you spend. So I think I went on one vacation while I was in debt and got into more debt. And I was like, that was the dumbest thing. Anyway, I'm just curious. Do you guys like feel that guilt? And like, is it just you brush it off and you're just like, whatever, I deserve a vacation? Or are you like, do you feel guilty? Like, I'm telling you, by the end of it, I'm like, I couldn't even enjoy my vacation because of the anxiety I had about digging myself into more debt doing this. Anyway, no judgment here. I'm just curious because like I've been there. I've done that. But like I said, I just could not enjoy the vacation at all. So like I will never do that again. I'm here to relax and not stress. Now, when I was paying off my debt, I guess I still kind of am, but like all my credit cards, things like that. It's not that we wouldn't go on vacation. The rule of thumb was that we could never go into debt for vacation. And we had to do that vacation cheap as shit. Like, for example, we went on a cruise like December of 2022. That's crazy. That really wasn't that long ago. I was in a bunch of credit card debt. Of course, we just moved across the country and we went on a cruise. And you had to make it as cheap as possible, meaning we had to like stay in the stateroom. We couldn't like upgrade any of our dinners, nothing like that. We did get to decide at like one excursion, and it really wasn't even an excursion, but like one thing to do. So anyway, if you're in debt and you're like, no, I deserve a vacation or whatever, at the very least, at the very minimal, don't go into debt for that vacation, okay? At the very least, do it as cheap as possible and like save up the money for it. Or like pay for it with cash. So that way you can like enjoy it a little bit. But yeah, going into debt for a vacation, especially when you like went to debt for that vacation because you probably were in a lot of other debt. Like you're desperate when you go into debt for vacation. But like I said, been there, done that. Is it the smartest decision? Absolutely not. But I totally understand it. Essentially what I'm saying, just at the very least, don't let the vacation put you into even more debt. But yeah, did that one time, paid for a vacation. I probably was 20 years old, paid for a vacation on debt, and it was horrible. I'm telling you, I'm like, And the vacation was cheap, to be honest. I think it was like $700, but it was $700 I did not have. Anyway, remember this because I know spring break and like summer is kind of coming up. There's nothing wrong with family vacation. But like I said, if you were in debt, don't go into more debt for this vacation, like at all. Just save up the money, pay cash for it. And whatever that vacation is, you got to do it as cheap as possible. Give yourself the best of both worlds. But please learn from my mistake. No one needs to go into even, a lot of people do it though. Trust me, a lot of people do it. I even saw some ads for like banks and stuff. I don't know specifically which ones, but come get a loan for your vacation. I'm like, a loan for your vacation? But honestly, at the end of the day, a loan probably would be better than putting on your credit card because the interest rate's a lot lower. Please don't do that though.
So y'all, yesterday on Instagram in my close friends, I posted about how young adults, specifically like college students, 20, 21, 22-year-olds, how they shouldn't feel behind in life just because they can't go on these big elaborate trips that they see some of their peers going on, because everything is not what it seems on Instagram or on social media. You know, some people use trips as like escapism because they're unhappy with their reality. You don't know what people are doing to get those trips. Not everyone can actually afford trips. They're going in debt for these trips and vacations, and you know, so just telling them basically not to compare their lives to other people. Tell me why this girl slid up and she was like, well, some people travel because they're happy and traveling is good for you. And when I had my breakup, I was traveling and it was very therapeutic for me and blah, blah, blah. I never said that traveling was bad. Matter of fact, I'm a huge advocate of traveling. I think everyone should travel at some point in their life. I said things are not what they seem on social media. There are people that are going into debt for the sake of going on vacation. There are people who are prioritizing trips and not their basic necessities. You don't have your rent paid, but you've booked a trip. You don't have your car note paid, but you've booked a trip. You don't have your tuition paid, but you've booked a trip. That's what I mean. It wasn't to bash traveling, but travel within your means. There's a time and a place for everything. You don't have to travel the world before you're 25. You have your whole life to travel. But I feel like with this generation, we feel like, you know, it's like a sense of FOMO, that if you're not doing everything at this young age, then somehow you're behind in life. You're not. So to the girl that slid up on my story, and to all the young people, traveling is fine, but just know you don't have to travel the world before 25. There's a time and a place for everything. There's a season for everything. It'll come.
Would you go into debt for vacation? Now, I feel like I've gotten mixed reviews when I've asked this question before. Some people are like, hell yeah, I deserve to have a vacation too. I'm not disagreeing. And other people are like, no, absolutely not. So I thought I'd share my unsolicited opinion. We just got back from a big Europe trip and we spent a bunch of money. We just put $9,587 on a credit card. Yes, we budgeted for it in my travel high yield savings account. And like, yes, we were able to pay it all off. We went over by like $277, which is not bad for a 2-week trip for 3 people. But the real question is, have I ever gone on vacation while being in a bunch of credit card debt and gone into debt for the vacation? I have, and it was truly one of the worst vacations I've ever taken. Now, this is a personal preference. I'd be curious if anyone has ever felt the same way. I feel like it was early in my college days, and I wish I could tell you exactly what trip it was, but I will never forget how I felt. Like, I just felt so miserable, and I had a lot of anxiety on that trip because, like, every time I'd swipe my card or anything, like, I knew I didn't have the money to pay for it. And it's not like I ever missed, like, a credit card payment or anything, but I just knew that I would have to spend time paying that off. Like, I couldn't. And it would cost me even more money, right? Because of interest. Like, I knew that I couldn't just go home and wipe the whole card. And I also feel like typically, I'm not saying everyone, people go into debt for trips because they already are in a ton of debt, which is most likely why they didn't have the money for the trip in the first place. Or they just live super paycheck to paycheck. But anyways, like I said, I did go into debt once for a trip. I was in my early 20s and I just could not enjoy the trip at all. It was like seriously one of the worst trips. And it was sad because I felt like I was somewhere cool. And I remember just being so sad about it because I felt like I couldn't enjoy it. And then after that, I like kind of vowed to just never go into debt for a trip again. Now, did I go on trips when I was like in credit card debt? I did, but my rule of thumb after that one trip, like I went into debt for one time I did it and it wasn't anything crazy. I think the trip was like less than $1,000. But like I said, it was just terrible. I didn't enjoy my time because I just knew how much debt I was in. But like I said, after that, I did go on trips while I was still in debt and paying off debt, but I vowed to never go into debt for a trip again. So if I was going to go on a trip, then I had to have the money for that trip. And I couldn't put that trip on my credit cards in any kind of way. Like I had to do it with my debit cards. And I know people are like, well, what about the points? I was in a lot of credit card debt and it was just hard for me to keep track of. So for me, that was like kind of my punishment in a way. But I also knew it was the only way I'd be able to enjoy my trip was to just like have the upfront money for that and not allow myself to go into further debt for a vacation. Like I said, I'm curious about your guys' opinions and I have had mixed reviews on it before. I know I've asked this question before and it was pretty 50-50 on people like, no, I absolutely would go into debt for vacation. I've done it. And people like, no, I got a lot of anxiety like you. It was not fun. I hated every minute of it. Me personally, hated every minute of it. Felt like I couldn't enjoy, felt like it was like taking from my trip because I was just so focused on the money that I didn't have. And I knew I was making a decision for my future self, right? Like I knew that I didn't have the money right then, but I would have to pick up some more shifts when I get home in order to pay it off. Like I was making a decision for my future self, which I feel like can be kind of risky because it's like you can't predict the future. But I will say when you do budget for your trips, it's so nice. Me and my boyfriend were talking about this the other day and I remember like commenting this to someone. We were talking about how nice it was to like come home from a vacation because you guys know like after a vacation, especially if you don't get paid while you're gone, I do, he doesn't. but you feel like you have to play catch up, right? With not only because you spent a bunch of money, but also like you didn't work and you're not getting paid for the time you didn't work. Anyway, we felt like this was kind of like the first time in either of our lives where we came home from Italy and it wasn't like oh my gosh, like we got to do X, Y, and Z to hurry and like pay like we didn't have stress about money when we came home because we budgeted properly for the trip.
My name's Faye and I'm in £30,000 worth of debt. And last week I did a ChatGPT challenge for myself to see if I would spend less. I spent £60.77 as opposed to the £100 that I normally spend. And I didn't need any top ups at all, which was just absolutely fantastic. This week, I have spent the extra £40 I would have normally spent, just on little bits here and there to top up because we're going away tomorrow. So we've not had a full week of food needed. And so that managed to tide us over. And so I've now officially saved £100 on my food bill because I've not had to buy another £100 worth of food this week. So I'm just shocked by that, to be honest, and it's definitely something I'm going to be continuing to do as we go on. I've just fueled up my car now. I've spent £60 because we're going on holiday tomorrow. We're going to Wales, which is something that's been pre-booked. And I'm super excited because I don't believe that we should have to miss out just because we're in debt. As long as we're working towards paying things off and not getting into more debt, then I don't see an issue. So I'm super excited. My children are super excited. My boyfriend's super excited. I've not managed to see him recently because he's been working loads and he doesn't actually live near us. He lives about 2.5 hours away. So yeah, it would just be such a nice break to just not have to think much about anything.
I'm paying off $100,000 worth of debt and still choosing to take a family vacation to Disney next week, and so many people have called me crazy for doing so. So I want to break down the numbers for you and see if you would make the same decision as me. To set the stage for you, we're going with my husband on a work trip to Orlando. So he would already be in Orlando because of work. This is just what it would cost for all of us to go with him and to go to Disney and Universal while we're there. Now, one of the only perks of my husband traveling frequently is that he flies exclusively Southwest, which means we get a lot of Southwest miles. So he was able to pay for my ticket, my daughter's ticket, my son's ticket, and my mother-in-law's ticket, all with points. All we had to do was pay taxes, and we ended up paying $11.20. Now, the main reason that this trip is so affordable is since my husband was already planning on being in Orlando for work, his job is paying for the hotel and the rental car, so we pay absolutely nothing. Now, the main reason that we wanted to go to Orlando specifically is so that we could take our kids to Disney. So we purchased 5 tickets, me, my husband, and my mother-in-law, and then our 2 kids. And you can see here the total for that was $995.79. Now, here's where I got very, very lucky. We are only doing 1 day at Disney this trip because my kids are very young, just so that we can feel it out. And so we wanted to do one more bigger thing while we were there, and we decided to go to Universal Studios. So this is not only for all 5 of us to go, but for my sister-in-law to go also. So 6 tickets total, and you can see down there it was going to be $1,184.28. But I was able to work into a brand deal that I got a comp for $1,000, which means for those 6 Universal tickets, I paid $184.28. Now, obviously, this doesn't include the money that we're going to spend on food or gas while we're there, but if you were able to go to Orlando for 6 days and go to Universal and Magic Kingdom for under $1,200, even though you had debt, would you go? Just in case no one's told you today, I love you so much.
Buy now, pay later services are going to have y'all in so much trouble, you're not going to know how to get out. I'm for to sound like the old uncle right now, but I am very concerned about this generation and how they utilize these services. I'm going to go into detail about this topic in my newsletter, but it's so important to me to get this message out that I want to make a video about it right now. These kids are utilizing these services, which that's what they're here for, but you have to use them, responsibly. They're using these services to book so many outlandish flights and trips to places where, we can't even imagine to go, but they're booking these trips with these services and they're going on a trip without it even being paid for and dealing with the repercussions later. This is worse from when we were in high school, and when you graduated, maybe in college, they started sending you out these credit cards and everything, and your parents was like, oh, don't do that. I feel like this is worse. I believe travel is for everyone. I've always had that message. I believe that everyone deserves to travel and experience life outside of their city. But like my mama used to tell me, you don't go nowhere if your bills ain't paid. We need to move from this mindset of thinking what we see on social media is better than the life that we live. Because 9 times out of 10, it ain't really what it's given. Young travel friends, listen, I don't know where your parents at. I don't know what's going on. But if nobody's going to tell you, listen here right now. Don't you try to keep up with the Joneses trying to fly up, fly out, get flued out, pretend like you get these people pretending they get flued out. Just stop. Because you're going to find yourself in a place where you can't get out. And nobody wants to be 10 feet under that.
When I heard this, I was low-key mad. So a couple of months ago, my old car was getting a bit run down, about to go out the door, so then I had to get a new car. So I decided to get a loan from the bank so I could get like a half-decent car that was going to last me quite a bit of time, I suppose. And then after that, I heard like on social media, people are going to the bank to get loans, like personal ones, so then they can go and do trips around Europe. So here I am, getting a car, and everyone else is traveling, and I just feel so robbed. Like I could have got a loan and gone overseas. Instead, I got a car to take me around to the same bloody city all day every day.
I would never understand people that take out loans to go on holiday. There's something I want to talk about, and that is going on holiday when you're broke. In order for me to have fun and enjoy holiday, I have to have peace of mind. If I am taking out a credit card loan, if I'm in debt already, and then I'm taking out a £1,000 loan to go on holiday, whilst I'm on that holiday, I'm already thinking about how much I'm going to have to pay it back and the interest rates. The reason you want to go on holiday in the first place is because you are depressed, or you feel like you need a break. Your mental health, you need a break, you need sunlight, you need to be on the beach. You're now taking out a loan to enjoy freedom, but then you're in debt. I can't imagine myself being in that situation. Like, I'm already in a bad place mentally. Taking out a loan will only make things worse. And I will not be able to have fun and enjoy that holiday knowing I am already minus £1,000 somewhere. That's not possible. I have to be already financially okay and then take out money out of my surplus to go on holiday. I cannot be taking money out of a credit card. That's crazy.
You know what makes me sad about being in debt is the fact that I make enough money to just go buy whatever I want sometimes, but I can't because I'm paying off debt and I have no money because it's all going towards credit card debt and loan debt. And it's very frustrating for me because it just makes me sad because I give myself a very strict $250 to buy groceries and whatever else that I want / need. And sometimes that's literally just not enough. Like $250 every 2 weeks is just, it's quite simply just not enough, especially in this economy, this joke ass economy. I literally can't buy anything. And so it makes me sad because I could literally drop $500 every paycheck on something so easy, but I can't. But I physically make the money to be able to do that, but I don't have the money to do it, if that makes sense, And so it just makes me sad because I'm like, I work so hard and I make a decent amount of money and it doesn't show because past me spent so much of that damn money. So now current me is paying off what I spent past me. So I have to just, I have to reframe and think about it that way of like, okay, well, you did buy all your shit. You did buy all that stuff. You spent all that money. Now you're just paying for it now, I need to be more responsible. I'm getting there. I am much more responsible now, but it's still a work in progress.
You have seen how people really reacted on those clips and what is happening now. Now let's talk honestly. Spring break used to be simple. Now it's turned into prayer, comparison, and expensive expectation. People are not just traveling, they are trying to keep up. Let's break this down for a moment. Flights are up, hotels are expensive, food, events, outfits, it all adds up. And what are people doing? Sweeping card, taking loans, using money that doesn't really have, and all for a few days of escape. That's not enjoyment anymore. That's prayer. disguised as fun. Now let's go deeper because this conversation hits differently in different communities. For a lot of Black communities, there is a stronger awareness of financial responsibility, long-term survival, and making every dollar count. Because historically, access to wealth hasn't been equal. So the mindset becomes, is this worth it long term? Not just, does this look good right now? And that difference is thinking. It matters. Here is the truth about what to say out loud. Social media has changed everything. Vacation are no longer just about rest. They have become performance, content, validation. People don't just want to enjoy, they want to be seen enjoying. And the prayer is expensive. And when you see people going into debt for it, you have to ask, who are they trying to impress and at what cost? Because when trips end, reality begins. Bills, rent, responsibility, and those don't disappear. Think about it. Have you ever spent morning and later thought, I shouldn't have done that? Now imagine that feelings, but multiply by thousands of dollars. That's what a lot of people are dealing with right now. This is bigger than vacation. It's about mindset, short term happiness versus long term stability. And the question becomes, are we living for the moment or building for the future? Because there's nothing wrong with enjoying life, but going into depth for temporary experiences. That circles that can hold people back. And more people are starting to wake up to that. Now, I want to hear from you. Would you go into debt for a vacation or do you think it's not worth it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's have a discussion about it. And if you want more real unfiltered conversation like this, hit that subscribe button because we are keeping it honest every time. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all in my next